All right. Mr. Canales, if you could call roll.
Ms. Carasola?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, here.
Mr. Corey?
Here.
Mr. Hayward?
Here.
Ms. Parlamis?
Here.
Ms. Rundell?
Here.
Ms. Stevenson?
Here.
Ms. Calvez?
Here.
Dr. Robinson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open public meeting? All right, we have Ms. Parlamis, seconded by Mr. Hayward. All right, so Ms. Rundell, are you able to lead us through the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Adequate notice of meeting in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of tonight's meeting was mailed to the Record and the Ridgewood News on January 7th, 2025. Notice of this meeting was also mailed to the Borough Clerk and was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office in the Administration Building on the same date. Mr. Corey, would you be able to read the mission statement, please?
Of course. The Glen Rock School District, founded on principles of education in partnership with the supportive community, provides an exceptional education to all students to cultivate resilient, responsible, and engaged global citizens.
Thank you. All right, so we have our presentations.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. Certainly happy to be back here in the district. It's been a wonderful 2 weeks, getting to reconnect with our admin team, our teachers, most importantly our students, and with the Board of Education. And tonight we have some of our, I'm glad it's my first meeting back because we get to recognize really some outstanding students, our valedictorian and salutatorian, and also our unsung hero nominee. So, Mr. Orlando, if you would please come up and tell us about these wonderful students.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Charleston and the board. It's always a pleasure to be here, especially when I get the honor of telling you about our incredible students. So tonight, I will start with our unsung hero. Marco Slump is a student who exemplifies the best qualities of our student body at Glen Rock High School. His dedication, leadership, and altruism have been truly inspiring. Marco's extracurricular activities are a testament to his drive and passion for making a difference. He has truly demonstrated empathy and passion through his commitment to the community. In 10th grade, he donated money to install a water filter at Lugar de los Ancianos, a convent in Ecuador that provides shelter for homeless seniors. He then spent a week working at the convent, planting fruit trees, painting, and spending time with seniors. This experience, rooted in his deep connection to his family's heritage in Ecuador, demonstrates his commitment to giving back to the community. Additionally, Marco traveled to Mississippi to help rebuild low-income housing and clean up a church-run school, further showcasing his dedication to service. Marco has also been an active member of the Key Club and Interact Club, raising money for various causes and participating in events to support Alzheimer's awareness. Marco's leadership skills shine through his role in co-founding and leading the Investment Club, where he has successfully guided the club in competitions at multiple colleges. Marco's ability to inspire and lead his peers in exploring finance and investment strategies speaks to his ambition and charisma. His athleticism is evident in his participation on the boys' soccer team throughout high school, and he achieved a black belt in mixed martial arts during 9th and 10th grade. In addition to his extracurricular activities and sports commitments, Marco's work experience further highlights his strong work ethic and time management skills. He has worked as a waiter at East Coast Burger Company, where he consistently demonstrated reliability and a strong dedication to his responsibilities. His roles as a physical therapist assistant and a summer camp counselor also underscore his versatility and ability to connect with others. Marco Slump, our unsung hero, demonstrates the values of Glen Rock High School through his outstanding efforts on behalf of the school and the community, and we thank him for his many contributions.
All right, 'Cause 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 '
Next, I'm honored to announce Sophie He as Glen Rock High School's salutatorian. Academically, Sophie is one of the most accomplished students. By the end of her senior year, she will have completed a staggering 17 advanced placement courses, maintaining an impressive 4.48 GPA. Her intellectual curiosity and commitment to academic excellence are evident in her pursuit of a rigorous course load, including challenging STEM subjects. Notably, Sophie achieved a perfect score on the PSAT, qualifying her as a National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. Additionally, her second-place finish in the Bergen County Math League reflects her passion for mathematics, an area in which she excels and continues to push her limits. Sophie's love for math is complemented by her participation in the Rutgers Young Scholars Program in discrete mathematics, where she engaged with topics like cryptography, game theory, and graph theory. This program not only deepened her understanding of math's real-world applications, but also fueled her desire to explore its broader connections across disciplines. Beyond her academic achievements, Sophie is a natural leader. As vice president of the Public Forum Debate Club, she has demonstrated exceptional organizational and leadership skills. Under her guidance, the club experienced an increase in membership, a testament to her innovative approach to making debate accessible and engaging for all participants. She spearheaded weekly lessons, created detailed presentations, and led activities that have significantly enhanced the members' debate skills. Sophie's leadership extends to her role as president of the Girls Who Code Club, where she has organized coding projects, fundraisers, and field trips to inspire young women to explore technology. Her ability to teach and mentor others shines through in both clubs, as well in her work as a tutor at Kumon, where she has helped students build confidence in subjects ranging from basic arithmetic to complex algebra. In addition to her academic and leadership strengths, Sophie is an empathetic and thoughtful individual. Her kindness is evident in her interactions with others, whether she's helping beginning debaters build confidence or supporting her Kumon students through challenging topics. Sophie's genuine care for the well-being of those around her fosters a nurturing environment that allows her to build positive relationships and foster a sense of community. In the fall, Sophie plans to attend Columbia University and major in applied mathematics. Congratulations on all of your hard work and accomplishments, Sophie. Our final honoree, it is my honor to recognize an extraordinary individual, someone who embodies dedication, brilliance, and kindness, the valedictorian of Glen Rock High School's class of 2025, Yeji Kim. Yeji is the kind of person who makes excellence look effortless, though we all know the reality is quite the opposite. Behind every achievement is her unwavering determination, relentless curiosity, and a work ethic that leaves the rest of us in awe. During her sophomore year at the New Jersey Science League competition, Yeji spotted and reported an error on the state test, which set her apart from the competition. She is not just a student who excels in science, she is a scientist at heart, approaching every challenge with precision, passion, and an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Her leadership is just as impressive as her intellect. Founding and leading two clubs, the Sports Medicine Club and the Computational Linguistics Club, Yeji has created spaces where students can explore their interests, learn from experts and guest speakers, and most importantly, grow together. As the president of HOSA, she has guided her peers with wisdom and warmth, always willing to share her insights and lend a helping hand. Many students turn to Yeji for advice and guidance. Her academic excellence speaks for itself. Her research being selected for submission to MIT is no small feat, but what makes Yeji truly stand out is her heart. She doesn't just pursue knowledge for the sake of achievement, she applies it to make a difference. Whether she's volunteering for over 150 hours at Valley Hospital or immersing herself in the New Jersey Medical School SMART program, she is already making an impact years before officially becoming a doctor. And through all of this, Yeji remains one of the kindest, most positive people you will ever meet. She has the rare ability to bring lightness to serious situations, to make people laugh when they need it the most, and to remind us all to find joy in the journey. What makes her success even more remarkable is the resilience behind it. Moving to the United States from Korea just 4 years ago, Yeji had to acclimate to a new culture and language. She graciously and flawlessly proved that no obstacle is too great for a determined mind and a passionate heart. Yeji, you are an inspiration. As you take the next step in your journey, we know you will continue to thrive, lead, and change the world for the better. Congratulations.
Parents, you're invited up too. I know you were really excited. Come on up. All right, we'll take a picture of all you two. Mr. Van Ness, take a picture. Get everybody in. Congratulations again, everyone. Well done. Thanks, Michelle. You bet.
That's always such a wonderful cause for celebration, like the amazing things that our kids here are capable of and are doing. So that's a wonderful way to open our meeting for tonight. On at 7:14, we have our first set of public comments on agenda items only. If you are able to state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Christina Chin. I live at 87 Park Avenue. And first and foremost, I just want to say thanks to the board and Mr. Violante just for continued support in trying to make a swim co-op possible for our kids at the high school. I am a mom of a swimmer, obviously, and we are extremely excited at the potential. And I know you guys know the numbers that we have offering, or the numbers of the kids that we have that currently swim club, that we can offer a co-op. But just for the next 4 years, we have 13 kids for 25-26 school year. We have 16 kids for the following year, followed by 19 and then 18. And all these kids currently swim club, and they're all interested in swimming for the high school if we have the opportunity to present them with a swim club at the school. But anyway, just wanted to say thank you. I know it's out of our hands at this point because it's being voted on, so fingers crossed. But I just wanted to express our gratitude for recognizing swim at the high school, potentially, and the opportunity. So that's it. So I just wanted to say thank you. So fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional public comments? for agenda items? Seeing no additional comments, we will close at 7:16. All right, on to personnel. If we can have a motion to discuss P1 through P8. Mr. Corey, seconded by Mr. Hayward. Any questions or comments with regards to P1 through P8?
I would just make a quick comment regarding Chrissy Dodd's resignation for the purpose of retirement. My understanding is that I believe she was in the business office for almost 22 years as the accounting clerk. We've had a nice little retirement celebration for her the other day, and we certainly wish her a long, healthy, and enjoyable retirement. She's good people, and we're sad to see her go, but wish her the best.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Charleston. All right. Thank you, Ms. Dodd. All right, if we are able to have roll call, please.
Ms. Carosella?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlanis?
Yes.
Ms. Rundell?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Calvez?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. On to our general section. The first item up for discussion is the naming of facilities, dedications, and memorials, which will be our policy 7550. Again, just to remind any of the board members or members of the public, there was a request from the public to consider renaming the school or addending to the name of the school from a member of our community, and we don't have a policy in place, and so we spent some time gathering information from other school districts, from our Strauss Esme, which is one of the companies that is the holder of many policies across the state of New Jersey. And what we have to discuss tonight is to create what will be our first draft of the policy. So we compiled, Mr. Cohen compiled many of those policies that we had received and compiled them into one document. And then we can, tonight, go through this document and identify some of the things that we think are, that we want to keep or things that we want to remove to make the policy our own. And then I will take all of those suggestions and make a draft document, which will be presented at our next COW. And then if that is okay, then I will have a second reading, and at the second reading, then we are able to move to pass this and adopt this as an official policy. All right. So knowing that, we can start with just even the page one. There are 4 pages of the document, or 3.5 pages of the document. And for anyone that is watching along, these are all appendix documents. All right, so anybody that wants to start with regards to their thoughts on the beginning of the policy? Yes.
I had a few. Thank you, Mr. Boaz, for putting this together. It's a great foundation to work off of. I did have a few comments reading through it. I don't know if you want to stick to just page 1.
If you want to, if I'm very open to what the board wants to do. So if you want to just start with all of your comments, then I'll make note of them. And then I'll also ask, just for clarity, that at the end of the meeting, like if you send it in an email, just kind of like, if you have it in email format, then you can just forward it to me and I'll make sure that it's included.
So in the second paragraph on the first page, it reads that in order to avoid confusion, the board will not change the name of the facility that is already named after an individual unless its function changes. I suggest we just remove this. I don't think it's needed. It limits us forevermore to never change any building that's ever been named. And I just don't think it's needed, especially if we're having this process in place for consideration. So that would be my first suggestion. Under naming criteria, first page, it reads, all school names must comply with the following criteria. I agree with all the criteria. The only thing I would add to it is that I think that we should add that no school shall be named after a living person or a commercial enterprise, just so that it's in there as a process. Can I go off this next page, or
Keep
do you want to
going.
limit to first
Yeah, you can,
page?
you're good. Before we move on to the next page, does anyone have any questions or comments with regards to those items? Yes, Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, just the reason for adding the no name change was to avoid multiple requests to changing existing buildings and existing schools. We don't want to just like reevaluating all the school names, and that's the risk if we're taking it out.
So the reason I thought it'd be a good idea not to have it is because it means you can never, ever in the future of eternity ever change it. You could always change the policy, yeah.
But I think to Mr. Cohen's point, though, if we took that out, somebody could come every 2 years and say, oh, can we change the name of this school? Can we change the name of that school? I think it might get a little tedious or overwhelming with that.
Yeah. Is there any language that we could add that once named, that there would have to be some sort of substantial documentation that would be required in order to ask for the name to be changed, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's just
I'm
hard to
sure
say what that
we could
substantial
come up with
aspect,
something
yeah.
in the next draft.
Yeah.
That it's like an in-between.
Yes.
The only, just to kind of address that piece, I had a question about, should we add something about limiting how many times, like how many we could receive in a year, or maybe have a period of time, like this is the nomination period, so like even when you join a board, it only happens at, a certain time of year, so that we're not constantly receiving requests, if we tighten it a little bit, which
Okay.
could help address some of the concerns there. And then
Okay.
it might be, oh, sorry, you go on.
Oh, no, we were gathering feedback for that. I'm just taking a note on that. Okay.
So this is just addressed, it's addressed in number 8. So if it was rejected, you cannot ask for again, if recall, it's just.
Okay.
I was thinking more of saying, like, we'll only receive applications in
Oh.
January, and that's
Yes,
it. If you
thanks.
have an
Got
idea
it,
in
got it,
June,
got it.
okay,
Got it,
send
got
it in January, just
Yeah.
so that we're not like
That makes sense.
every month getting a new thing. Not that we don't want to get them, but like just a tighter schedule.
I'd be happy to take a stab at proposing that in-between language,
Okay,
so.
great.
On page 2 of it, the second page, under the naming process, the school name request forms may be submitted by the following, and it lists principal, teacher, staff member of the school, or a parent, guardian, or family member of, or student of the school community. I would say that's a little restrictive, and I would add that it can also include any resident of Glen Rock and any alumni of the school. For example, the person that is submitting this and came to the board would not qualify based on this limitation. Okay. And then, any other comments on that before I go to my next one? The school survey.
I'll add a comment there too. So I definitely, I support members of our community coming and talking. I would actually ask that the person be a current member of our community to be able to make the request. That's just my thought process. Whether it's somebody that's an alumni or not, just because I think that the dynamics of the community can change over time. And so I would want to make sure that if it was a change that was reflective of what you want now, that the person was actually living in the community when they were making that request. That's just my thought process.
I think you said it perfectly. It's very important that we have people who are vested in our community at this point making these decisions, being the ones proposing that. And that, of course, somebody could come and advocate, but really to have somebody come forth and present it, I think that's appropriate, that somebody who's a current part of the fabric of our community be that person kind of standing at the podium to do it.
All right. All right. I will have both options present, and then that'll be part of our first draft. Okay? Ms. Parlamas?
Was there more in that? Oh, okay. Point number 4 is under naming process, says the school should survey the school's community to assess support for a school name. And I think that might merit a little bit more fleshing out of what that means. I would suggest changing it to something like public input gathered through survey, meetings, and feedback shall be compiled by the naming committee and shall be a significant factor in the committee's recommendation. Just to make it a little bit more specific of how we're going to gather the community's input.
But
You have the same thing?
Yeah. I was going to actually ask with this, that, like some things might be like, in this case, the thing that prompted us here is the naming of an entire school. Some things might be as simple as the naming of a room, or, like a media center or a field, or, it could be any variety of opportunities here for naming historically. So is there a way for us to like leave it to the discretion of the board based on the significance of the naming, like how much or how little they think is required in order to be able to get a full survey? Like with regards to this aspect, a survey for the naming, I think that this board is basically saying that we would want, a robust survey, whether it's, like the students, the administration and faculty, as well as the members of the community. Whereas maybe if it's just a room, it might be left to kind of like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because I don't want to put constraints on future boards if this is the spirit. But yes.
Yeah, you can put it, if it's a school name change, then do that, but otherwise don't, yeah.
Yeah, then
Like
it
just
left
put
it at the discretion.
Yeah, as a discretion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Could I ask, this is my question, I kind of zoomed out on our policy portion of this. When we talk about buildings and school facilities, it really didn't narrow it down, is that, and you could minimize it to something ridiculous of like a room being individually named. We have a past practice of naming things in honor of people who are significant and influential to the town. There was no policy to do that, but also when we're talking about naming an entire school, there's other cost factors, administrative burdens, things that we're doing to change a recognized, like the central school, the Richard E. Byrd School is known as an entity as opposed to, say, the Alan Diet Field, which was generously donated and named in honor of somebody, and a sign was put up and everybody loves Coach Diet, but that really didn't change the function of the field. Whereas if we do change the name of a building, I think the scope we were looking at is we as a board have to make sure we're applying this policy to things that require approval to change. It won't just be good for people who are looking at it. That
Okay.
helps.
Let me see, I'm writing some of this
You want me to say that all again?
on. No, that's why we have those gentlemen over there to capture this moment. All right. Was that it, Ms. Parlamis?
No. Sorry.
Keep on going.
Just two more comments.
Sure.
We just talked about how to get the public feedback in point 10. I was going to say maybe there also flesh out how the feedback, further public comment is coming. But again, it could be just for the school building versus doing this every single time, under the point of solicit further public comment. And then lastly, I just think in point 12, it says that the school could only be considered after 5 years. A name change application can only be considered after 5 years have elapsed, and I propose to do 3 years because I think that aligns with the length of a board term.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. And then the other point that you mentioned was bullet, or number 10? Before that?
Oh, just to repeat that?
No, I just was trying to,
Yes, it was number 10.
Number 10?
I was
Okay.
saying bullet 10, I would
Bullet
say
10.
maybe flesh out with the further public comment.
meaning like what that means.
Yeah, maybe like via survey or via posted feedback, just to gather feedback. I was not clear what further public comment means. Is it just inviting someone at the public comments of a board meeting? I thought it would behoove us to just be a little bit more specific there.
Okay. All right. I think I'll try and find something that's able to like be a little bit more memorialized for time, knowing that we're like living in a rapidly changing society and Star Ledger is about to not even be a thing. I'll find something there. And any other comments with regards to bullet 12 and the timing? What are your thoughts with Ms. Parlemis' suggestion? 3 years, 5 years? Go ahead.
The 5 years stood out to me too, because some of the examples we looked at, I think, were more like a year, but I like the train of thought behind the
Yeah.
board term, so 3 seems great.
Yeah, because I do recognize that, one, if it was turned down and there was proper due diligence, then really it should be significant things that would require someone to submit for approval a second time, as opposed to just waiting for the right people to be on the board to like say yes. You know, like our hope here is that we've developed a process that would stand for any board that would be able to come through.
I'd love to align that 3 years or 5 years arbitrarily, is that there's board turnover every year. It's not just 3 years, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't put ourselves above this decision at all. So, you know, we're volunteer public servants in this capacity. It's really, if something changes in the community, that makes sense. I do like the contribution you had about having a time period within the year, so that way that does create a cycle of, you know, if it's January, whichever month it is, that probably not January because you have new people on, but we can whittle this down to the proper time. I think that creates a good amount, a good cadence to it as opposed to just a constant flow, and allows people to reapply.
Yeah, I think with the time, just what I'm thinking, and maybe Dr. Charles, I might ask you to weigh in. Sometimes, or the most common buildings, I spoke with Ms. Magnabola, but the most common things that were renamed in our history were either rooms or like things like that from, often from members of staff that had like an amazing contribution or retired or things like that, and either the staff or the students wanted to honor that. And so I would assume that those kinds of things come towards the end of the year, and I'm thinking that maybe like some sort of springtime would be the appropriate time for us to like receive that request, like, I don't know, March 1st or something like that, so that we would be able to have the process go through and then potentially honor them in time for the end of the school year. Do we think that March is enough, or do we need to think back to like February? Like when people typically retire, do you think now?
I don't think there's necessarily a rush to, like, someone retires and you want to rename something within a couple months. So
Yeah.
I would just pick a date that you're comfortable with, because I think when you rename something, as the board is having conversations now and you want to do your due diligence, it's not offensive to wait 18 months, right, or a year before you make that decision. So I would set a date, but know in the back of your minds that if your date is March 1st, you're not making a change and implementing it in September. That's just too rushed, and that's, I wouldn't do that. So set a date, and then you work within a timeline. Maybe you set your policy to say within 18 to 24 months, the board will make a decision, right? I think that's fair. But I'm not saying that has to be the timeline. You could say 12 months, whatever, but I think you just set a timeline so people know when a decision will be made.
Okay. All right. So then maybe,
Do we want to revisit the deceased or living piece, because that kind of,
sure, go for it. What do you want to?
well, it was raised that maybe that be one of the criteria. If we, a lot of the other policies focused on someone who is deceased
Got
as
it.
more of in memory or honor versus someone who's just, not just retiring. They deserve to be honored in
Yeah.
other ways. But if that's just something we want to revisit, since it would answer that concern.
Got it. In that respect, then I would say yes, because I think most of the past practice is not necessarily for anyone that's deceased, but more like we're just honoring people that are cherished within our district, just in terms of what we currently have had recently. So,
I may have missed this, and I apologize if I did. I think too, the board, I would advise the board to have what I would call like an out clause. And I would share something like this. Let's say these paintings here in this room were named after people, but yeah, all of a sudden the cafeteria has to be redone, right? So you need to have really an out, like saying like we will do our best to preserve it. We will do a video archive of it, right? A tree dies, like that. So you need to have something, because if not, I've seen it, I've been part of it, where, and rightfully so. I'll give you an example. Like my brother-in-law like died in 9/11, so there's memorials for him at the high school he went to. Well, one of the trees fell over in a storm and died, right? And so there was a big debate about how to replace it, when to replace it, and my family was whatever, but I could see other people saying, like, I want this replaced, I want the same size tree, I want all these things. So I think you need to have some language in there to protect the board for any future possibilities of damage or construction or things like vandalism, right? Things like that. I know you're talking about a whole building with the reason that this is coming, but there are small things that people want that the board may agree to, and we should have some protections.
you're right. Thank you for mentioning that, because there are instances of paintings that may come up in the near future. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I'm just taking a look. So I will get some sort of, like Dr. Charleston said, out clause. I think that we also should have some sort of discussion for what the process is, or like what, either, I don't know, a timeline of what we anticipate, like some sort of, what the process would be. Like somebody would make a request to the board formally by writing, and then the board will discuss at their next CAL meeting, like this request, and, go ahead.
I'm afraid this may extend this whole process in general, but when I look at the regulation example, it really is focused on school name. And to my point before, like that creates a lot of, you're changing letterhead, you're changing formal correspondence. There's things that, you can't, the Department of Defense just did this twice on purpose. And nobody knows where to go. They get orders to one location or another. You get shipments. So there's things that we should consider, and appreciate that the regulations are focused on that. I think the board might want to decide if it's our intent to have this policy for things that are of material nature, or to carve out other things such as our media center.
I think that the goal here, as I understand, is we don't have really a naming policy, and this is really to be naming any district property.
Yeah.
So if it's a school building, then it would be incumbent upon the board to recognize the significance of making that kind of decision, and that, as I understand from prior requests historically in this district, it has come with even a cost, like a potentially high cost to rename school property, or rebrand and things like that. So definitely I want to make this policy as inclusive as possible, so that we're not I don't want to use the word junk policies, but we're not having a lot of redundancy and other, we don't need a policy for schools and then a separate policy for rooms.
No.
But I do want to make sure that any future board understands the gravity of
Yeah, and I think that, so perhaps the regulation can encompass, because it's, the regulation is specifically addressing the process for schools, and then maybe, yeah, like a second part of that, to say, and other things are done through a smaller process.
So you're saying have a policy and then
Policy
have
of
a
naming, yeah,
regulation?
and regulations of categories for thinking.
Would that be appropriate in this case, because then?
Because I'd love to pull the roadblocks out of you naming a classroom, so you can have that done quickly without having to go through an entire convention-sized.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll add that, just in case that doesn't make it, then we'll discuss policy versus regulation.
Sure.
And when we draft this all up, then, we'll see how it spins. Thank you, that's good. Yes.
I have a question for 9. So after the name change is presented, and then the board can vote to take it further, then there's a naming committee. It says that consider at least 3 new names for the school
That's what I was just asking.
before nominating a new name for the school. So what if we only get 1 name requested?
That's a great question. So I think so herein lies the naming committee. I think that the naming committee should also, we have to decide whether we think that the naming committee should also consider other names at the same time. If you're saying that we're only considering the one, I don't want it to be like first in, first out kind of scenario where the first person to make the request is well, you should have made your request earlier if you wanted the school name. I just want to make sure that we would be honoring whatever the community's wishes were. So if you were in the terms of the surveys and things like that, if there were other things that came about from the community, that those might be able to be entered in. But I don't know that a requirement to find 2 other names would be what the intent would be.
Right, because that's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
least
that's-
3
so that's-
new
that's
names,
yeah.
so, okay, this is the name that we would like considered, we say yes, you get the naming committee, and through further discussions and whatever surveys, if other names came in, that would be also fine to consider those, but what if no other name comes in, and that's the only one? Would we then have to say, sorry, you have to wait for 2 more
No.
nominations? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's listed 2 in the number of paragraphs.
On which page?
Yeah, so the idea is to give other people a chance to give suggestions. We might be able to change this instead of considering minimum of 3 names, just say something like the committee will give a chance to other members to give suggestions of names, just to make sure that to the president's point that is not like the first come first serve, and then you don't consider other names. So just to give other chance to other considerations. And I was like,
Right, certainly if other names come up, but you don't want to, say sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't.
Walk around. Anybody else have an idea? Right. And you don't want to hamper yourself in there.
I like it.
yeah, we can say allow for other names. The committee will allow for other names or other suggestions as needed. Yeah.
Yeah, we can make it so they have a time period, a set time period where all names can be considered and all names with considerable feedback can be evaluated.
We will.
We need it in the 3rd paragraph, it's just under the.
We'll look through that. Mr. Hayward?
Just thinking out loud as I'm listening to this is all good that we're talking about it, but I was thinking about the cost for this. And there is significant cost, not just in a plaque or a name, but if you're going to rename a school in the middle of a year, all their paperwork, all the letterhead, there's T-shirts, there's a 1,000 little things that probably need to change. So I'm not sure that, giving it, 90 days after a board votes on it, it would be more likely you'd say for the next school year or for further out. Because if it's something this significant, again, there's major cost. Ton of major cost.
It would have to be considered in a budget potentially.
Right, it almost has to be, a budgetary consideration for the following school year, something like that. as opposed to 90 days or 180 days or whatever the numbers are.
So that might be one of the provisions if it was something as serious as like naming a school versus like naming a room.
Exactly.
If there were budgetary constraints that you had to give the business administrator the appropriate amount of time to assess and then assess that,
And decide if,
yeah.
even if it's affordable at a given time of
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, and I mean, there could be times where it might not be necessary to make those kinds of changes, and then other times where there might, okay. Was there a place in there that was
I had it kind
Last
of
one,
under,
13.
there was,
13?
well, I was thinking afterwards.
Closely related there.
Okay,
But you can put it under 7 if you wanted, 7A, as the items that, if the board accepts the request to further consider the names submitted, the following shall take place. So one of the items could be consider budgetary requirements
Alignment
or
or-
impacts. Because, yeah, even the signs outside, I know the HSAs have bought a lot of the elementary school
And-
signs,
and
and they're like
imposition on
8,000, like, it all adds up. That needs to be considered.
I want to risk a naive question. Are our schools currently chartered individually through the state or something? Like Glen Rock Public Schools is authorized under the State Department of Education? Yeah, but not the schools themselves. I'm just thinking like the legal entity of,
We submit the names of the schools, it was the CDS, I think, or whatever, I forget what the acronym stands for, but each year we submit the names of the schools, so to change it in terms of the state, it's not necessarily an issue.
okay, so it's
But it's doable.
Glen Rock Public Schools
Yeah.
at all?
Basically, well,
Okay.
we break them down, but yeah, I mean,
But, yeah.
okay. Okay. Any other items that we see glaring for our first
I
read?
just have
Yes.
one other one. Sorry, under criteria. I wasn't sure, since it's the criteria, I don't know if we need the school name considers the diverse community the school serves, because B already says that it'll align with our mission, vision, equity commitments of the district and the school community. And I just don't know that every single nomination would necessarily consider the entire diverse community. So I didn't know if that was maybe a little limiting to ones that may come in. And if they need to do that, I don't know if they'll meet that criteria. And I feel like when you have criteria, you need to be able to check each one off in order to move forward. So,
Christine's nodding behind you.
Well, it's a flexible interpretation for diverse, but I agree with you. Like,
I just don't know if it's needed.
It's a little redundant.
Right. I'm not saying, I'm not disagreeing that we need to be thoughtful, but just felt that it was a little redundant, so that's one.
And where again is that?
Under
where's
naming
naming
criteria.
criteria?
Yeah, no, I have
Number
that
one.
one, but
1D.
where's the, you said that it's redundant, where does it also state? I see 1D, but where does it also state that specifically?
Well, I just think we kind of cover it with 1B.
With 1B? Okay. We can probably, and, all right, the name was one of the mission, vision, and the equity commitments of
I also thought
1B and
3B
are the same.
could be moved under individual criteria, since that seemed to address that.
Hold on. And you said 3B?
Yeah.
Paragraph
3B
under
can be
3B
moved.
should be moved to under individual criteria. Oh, the big paragraph under, so it goes 3AB, and then there's a paragraph saying for individuals, I'm just saying that should be moved to under 2. It should be a letter under 2.
So like 2D?
2D, yeah.
3B should be 2D. Okay.
I also, naming process, maybe combine 1 and 2. So a school name request form must be submitted to the superintendent or their designee. 2. There doesn't need to be 2 separate ones. You can just combo those 2. So naming process, submitted to.
Okay.
Stephanie, for 3B, you're saying to add that 3B content to paragraph 2?
No. So the paragraph under 3B,
Oh,
that for
for
individuals
individuals
deceased
deceased
in
in
the
10
last
years.
10
Yes,
years.
yes, yes.
We should move that to the one that talks about just the individuals, which was naming criteria.
Because that's applicable to individuals, so that belongs in paragraph 2.
That's what I think.
That makes sense.
Okay. Combine naming process 1 and 2.
I think I have one more, bear with me. My notes were written last night, they're very sloppy, sorry. 7A1. I didn't know if it was too restrictive. School principal of the school to be named, if a facility is not a school, the naming committee principal shall be the principal of the school closest in distance to the district facility, subject to, I don't know if we need to get that granular.
We can just get
It
rid
could
of
just
that,
be
right?
based on capacity or interests. I don't know if we really need to say, it's because
Okay.
Coleman is closest to this, it must be the Coleman principal.
Is that?
It's probably like fields or things like that, like if it's a field.
I just don't know if we need to determine, I think it just, whatever
I think
is
it's made
recommended
for
by
like,
the
I think it's
superintendent.
made for new schools.
Is
that
that
doesn't have a
applicable to
principal.
our district properties, though?
It
We
might
don't
not
have-
be applicable.
We don't have annex real estate. That's not,
Like if you
I think the bound, in our district, the boundaries are
That's what I'm saying, you
clearly
don't need
defined.
it. 'Cause
but
it's saying-
that's still on the high school property.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
think the boundaries here are
if it's
clearly
not,
defined.
okay. Yeah, no, but the facility is not a school.
wanna
So
s-
if the facility is not a school.
I think Rutherford has high school here and then school fields elsewhere that, sports complex, so which Glen Rock doesn't have. I'm just trying to think of the applicability of that in the example.
So the applicability is like it's when it is not the school, it's the whole school. It's a part of the school, then the principal of that part of the school is part of it, is the site. So like if it's the high school field, it's the high school principal.
Yeah, I think you still
That's
could
the-
just do that at the discretion of the superintendent,
That's fine.
based on, no? No? Okay, then you could define it. Yeah, it's long. That was it, I'm done. Turning off my mic.
Anything else? I'll take all of these suggestions and then create a draft, and then I'll bring it to the next Cal meeting. All right. Thank you. All right, on to governance, our comprehensive equity plan.
Sure. I just wanted to give you a quick update on this. We approved moving forward at the last board meeting. I've been working on the plan and making sure all of our policies are lined up for that. I was going to meet with the committee to get that going and hopefully have it on the next meeting for you to approve, but it's the week before spring break and we haven't been able to coordinate a time with all of the teachers that are on that. So it'll most likely be on a further board meeting. We have until June 23rd or 5th or something to submit it, so that's fine, but I wanted to let you know that's on its way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Since I'm up, I just want to give you a real quick update on MTSS, so multi-tiered system of supports. It was about this time last year that we started having these conversations internally about how to move forward and really kind of amp up that whole program. And so you know some of the things that we've been working on this year, especially at the elementary schools with the coaches, with the intervention periods, which we're now calling win periods, and that kind of stuff. So we're starting up those conversations now for round 2. What is year 2 going to look like in this program? I told you it'd be a multi-year plan for moving things forward, and we're starting those meetings up with a committee of administrators, supervisors, starting tomorrow to have conversations about that. So we'll start talking about what did we plan for this year, what did we accomplish, what are the next steps, and we'll be sharing that with the board over the next month or 2.
Phenomenal. Thank you. Any questions with regards to either of those items for Mr. Van Ness? Thank you.
We shared, you heard the member of the public speak about the swimming co-op for next year, partnering with Indian Hills. Indian Hills has sent a letter to the Big North asking for inclusion of Glen Rock and Indian Hills joining as a co-op. The ball's in their court. We are waiting for their response, and we will update once we get a response. We'll see what happens with the Big North. Elementary sectioning, principals met last week with our registrar to develop kindergarten sectioning to best place those students so that we have balance and as close as possible to their neighborhood school, but also taking into account siblings. Some schools had a significant number of siblings. All that being said, elementary sectioning will be K1 and 2 next year. We will have 9 sections, and 3, 4, and 5 we will have 10 sections. We are sitting on that one unanticipated K-12. You're going to have the demographer come here on May 5th, right? And you already have the report. I don't see enrollment growing. I see it maybe shrinking a little bit and then maybe going back up. So I'm pretty comfortable with the 9 sections of kindergarten for next year. That third section, as we call it, will be at Coleman Elementary, right? So the other 3 schools will have 2, and Coleman will have 3. And as of today, we but we have 160 kindergartners registered. If we look at history over the last 6 years, we get anywhere from 15 to 20 more. So I think our max could possibly be 180, probably land somewhere around 170 to 175. All right, still good class sizes with those 9 sections. For robotics, the postseason competition is in Monterrey, Mexico. As you may be aware, again, I gave this update to the board. One of the teams, the Cosmic Goose, made it to the finals, but fell just 1 match short of winning the state championship. However, doing that well has qualified the team to participate in one of several postseason events happening all around the world. Their event would be in Monterrey, Mexico from May 22nd through the 24th. Gave the board some links to review that. It is, how do I say this? They don't leave the resort, right? They stay there, okay? They will fund it 100%. This will be on the next agenda for board approval. We wanted to share that. They're very excited about the opportunity to go to Mexico and represent Glen Rock. For old business, Beijing Academy Student Exchange, we had a student and parent information meeting last Thursday. I believe there were 12 to 15 interested parents. I believe we already have 6 students that have completed the packets needed. My gut tells me we'll probably have anywhere from 12 to 16 students going. We're going to cap it at 16 max, but it looks like it's up and running. It'll be May 30th through June 9th. We have 2 teachers going, Donna Maserani and Sean Rowan, just 2 of the best that we have. So we're very pleased that they decided to take the lead on this. Beijing Academy students will come back here at the end of September and early October. And we'll continue the sister school relationship. Seems to be working out really well. Excited about it.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the trustees regarding the INP issues?
I have a question. I think last meeting we were talking about the Beijing Academy and just having a little sense of what if there's a written contract with them of it, and if that could be shared.
Yeah, I got that question. I found that interesting. Like, I'm not sure why someone would say there's a contract with a sister school, and also like why a contract would be needed. It's a handshake. We're working with them. They bring kids here. We bring kids there. We talk. We decide dates, things along those lines. There is a contract for individual teachers that wish to provide PD to Beijing Academy, but those teachers do it on their own time, and that's between them and Beijing Academy. The board has no role in that whatsoever. Good.
On to special services.
Yeah, so Dr. McCabe provided me with a really brief update. They are working on their registration. I believe they anticipate anywhere between 11 and 15 students registered. They're going to have a 3s and 4s class, so 2 PSI, preschool integrated, PSI 3, a PSI 4, and then a preschool disabled program. So it's going just as we planned. We will cap it. I believe the number is 15. So we'll keep you updated as we go through that. I think what's really interesting is the child development course in the high school. I believe 41 students signed up for that course, right? That's pretty amazing. So we're going to have 40 high school kids for 15 little kids, right? So no, we won't do that. But I think it just goes to show what we envisioned, right? Our older students coming down and working with our most needy students. And I see out there in our audience, we have Ms. Pearsall, who will be one of our pre-K teachers next year. So she's so excited that she came into our closed session meeting to say hi. Right? So yes, and she's yes. I'm going to get in trouble for that. But that's going very well, and more to follow as we get closer and closer. But people seem very happy with the space, and they should. It looks really great. Good there?
Yes.
Okay. So management and community, we found a little bit of a conflict on June 23rd. That's the middle school, I should say promotion, not graduation, I apologize, but the middle school promotion and the Board of Education meeting. Middle school promotion on the 23rd is at 6 p.m. The board meeting is at 7 p.m. My recommendation is to change the board meeting that night to 8 p.m. public. If we have to go into close, we would do it afterwards. That gives us enough time for that 75 minute to 90-minute middle school promotion, and then get set up for the Board of Education meeting. So if that's okay, Mr. Canellis will make that change and advertise it so everybody knows ahead of time.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? Because I think we're kind of bumping up against the end of the school year, so that's where we're at.
That's an important meeting because we don't have another one until August, and that's the one where you'll see that we're appointing a lot of teachers that suddenly resign and so on, right? So we're looking at our new appointments and those types of things. Ms. Carosella sent me a bunch of things here regarding the committee that she is leading regarding chain of command, the auto reply email, the badges, and Board of Education photos and bios for the website. We're going to schedule another committee meeting after we get back from spring break, and we can dive into these topics a little bit more and certainly be able to report out to the board at that time. Good?
Excellent.
Okay. And then under action items, you have the GRAA contract, which we had a discussion and closed. You also have an action item, the emergency closing day give back. As you know, we only use one emergency closing day. Typically, if we have an extra day, we give it back on the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. I believe this year it is May 23rd, so that is attached as an appendix. So regardless of whether the board could certainly have a discussion, but my recommendation is that, A, we choose this date, but if we don't choose this date, we don't leave this meeting until we have a date, because parents need to know, right, and make plans. So, and I did speak with the GREA leadership and the GRAA leadership, and they enthusiastically are in support of May 23rd.
All right. Any questions, concerns with regards to management community items, or any suggestion with regards to the closing day give back? Yes.
So just to clarify, the items from the community, the auto reply email and the budget, what are we doing with it?
We're going to have further discussion in our next meeting. So since the next meeting, just because of the change in, like, Dr. Charleston's back, so I think that having that first conversation with him, having him have an opportunity to speak with the committee, will get you those answers. Ms. Rundell? Oh, did you have a question? Oh, Dr. Sorry, my bad. All right, so is there consensus on the Friday before Memorial Day? Okay. All right, and did we already do, no, all right. So can I have a motion to discuss items G1 through G2? All right, Ms. Calvez, seconded by Ms. Parlamis. All right, any questions on G1 and G2? All right. Mr. Canellis, if you could call roll, please.
Ms. Carosella?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamis?
Yes.
Ms. Rundell?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Calvez?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Thank you. All right, on to fiscal management. We have some old business.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Just a reminder that our public hearing on our budget will be at a May 5th meeting at 7 p.m. Happy to report that our budget was accepted last week by the county, so I wouldn't expect any changes between now or when we approve the tentative budget to the final budget. And we will make that presentation again at a public hearing on May 5th.
Excellent, thank you. Also excited to hear that it was accepted. All right, on to operations.
Thank you. Under old business, we have an allowance item. This has to do with the restoration of the areas that were disturbed when putting in the lights at the lower soccer field. When we tried to do the restoration of the grass from the turf, we did it by seed, and it was trampled over, and we got very little grass growth. So what we would like to do, and we had asked for a cost to hydroseed the areas that were disrupted. It'll be a little bit more sturdy and sticking. I think Dr. Charleston called it hydro weed, but weeds are green, and provide some ground cover. So we'll get something that a little bit more substantial. So we are going to use, as long as the board's okay with it, $7,500 for hydroseeding the disturbed areas at that lower field.
And how, do you have any update with regards to how we are doing with our allowances, or our budget is well within?
With our allowance, we are very good there. Our allowance, excuse me, just give me 1 second. I believe we will have, we started off with an original allowance of $112,000. We used about $8,000 for an outlet at midfield on the sidelines, so this would bring us to an allowance of $97,003.
Very healthy.
Yeah. So and we're essentially done.
Great. Thank you.
The next item, which will be on our next agenda for vote, is a change order as it relates to our ESIP project, which too is also coming to a conclusion. This change order is related to some additional work on 2 additional steam traps that required a larger scope of work than the originally proposed. The cost of it is $3,400. We have a contingency that is above $300,000 even after we do this. So that'll be on our agenda next time for a vote. And then we have some actionable items for this evening. The first is a credit for the roof here at the high school that was completed with ROD grant funds. So we have a return of, we had an allowance, excuse me. We are a return of $20,000 against the cost of the roof. So that will then be shared between us and the state at a 60-40 ratio. Since it's ROD grant money, they provided 40, we provided 60. And so that is where we stand there, and that will actually close out the high school roof grant. And we are working on Coleman School. The next item is a capital reserve withdrawal of $68,000 to cover the overage that we've identified for the replacement of the football field and the track, mostly related to drainage grate replacements, mobilization for graduation. This way we are able to not have all kinds of trucks surrounding our field for graduation, but yet be able to begin that very next day. So the cost there was $68,000, so we would, $67,819 to be exact. So we would have the board this evening approve a withdrawal from the capital reserve to cover that overage. And then in the very next resolution, we would be awarding the contract to Field Turf to replace the track and the turf at a price of $1,449,533. And that is all I have for this evening.
The allowances, that's great that we're ahead. Do those funds get released back to our general budget, or that goes back into our capital reserve specific? So that we're pulling money out, but we're planning to put
Money will
excess back
flow
in.
back into the capital reserve.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Canellis. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions B1 through B3? Mr. Corey, seconded by Stephanie Carosella. That was a hard one. Keep it up to me. Roll, please.
Ms. Carosella?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Ms. Rundell?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Calves?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, so this evening I have a hand carry resolution. So one, I'll say it again, welcome back, Dr. Charleston, and we are very happy to have you with us this evening and going forward. I have a resolution on the floor that I would like, I will read, and then I will need to have someone to make a motion to approve in a second in order for it to be, for us to call roll. And so be it resolved that the board rescinds the denial of superintendent's request for use of bereavement leave, and be it further resolved that the board approve the use of bereavement leave as originally submitted by the superintendent, and be it further resolved that the superintendent's absence will be adjusted to reflect the use of 5 bereavement days from March 10th through 14th, and March 17th will be adjusted to reflect an approved vacation date. If you need me to reread that, I can do that. Yes.
I can make the motion to approve.
Motion made on the floor, and then a second. All right. We have a second, and we just need to call roll.
Ms. Carosella?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Ms. Rundell?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Calves?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes. All right. Moving on to liaison reports. Are there any liaison reports to share at this time? All right. Oh, and do you think there's an opportunity for us to have that discussion with the, like with the council? What are your thoughts with regards to?
Regarding crosswalk,
Yes, the crosswalk.
I think that there will be follow-up from town council, for
Okay.
sure. Yes.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so 8:14, we'll start our second set of public comments on agenda items only. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. All right. Seeing no public comments, we are closing our second session at also 8:14 for the record. And all right. After this meeting, we will be going back into closed session just to discuss board-specific items. There will be no voting made during this meeting, and then we will close and adjourn the meeting completely. All right. So can I have a motion to adjourn and go to closed. All right, we have Ms. Calvez, okay, and seconded by Mr. Hayward. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right. Our cow is in closed session.